Hello everyone, welcome to Movie Talk. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite movies of 2023. I've already done a video of my favorite movies in 2022, but of course I didn't have my channel in that time, so I technically made in a not specific time, but right now the year is almost ending, and I see that everyone is making these videos of their favorite movies, so I decided to make it. And let's go. First of all, there are some movies that I haven't watched in this year that I believe that could enter my top 10 in the future. So if for some reason I watch these movies later on in this year, or maybe even in 2024, I'm going to be updating this list if they enter, not in a YouTube video, but maybe in the comment section and in my letterbox. I already have this list prepared in my letterbox account, so you can go follow, and you will see if I update it if that happens. There are some movies that I have that, as I said, could enter this list. Um, like Anatomy of a Fall, The Zone of Interest, Poor Things, and Godzilla Minus One. These movies I am really excited to go and watch, but I haven't. They haven't appeared in a cinema near me, or they haven't been released worldwide, so that's why I haven't watched them. First of all, before to start talking about movies, I wanted to say that I want to apologize for not having my camera. I believe these videos are more intuitive for viewers when there is only one person talking and you guys are seeing the images. And if for some reason you haven't watched all of the movies, I'm going to be talking about probably this video will help you better when you are watching scenes of certain movies. So let's go talk about movies. First of all, some honorable mentions. Of course, this year was great year for cinema in general. So there are a lot of films that I've watched that I believe they should enter top tens worldwide for other people. And there are some movies that could have entered my top 10 easily if there was one more spot or maybe two more spots. Those honorable mentions are When Evil Lurks, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Not at the Cabin, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves, and Blackberry. So, everything said, let's start talking about my top 10. In number 10, Past Lives. Past Lives was directed by Celine Chong, starring Greta Lee, Teo Yu, and John Magaro, these three main characters. This was a movie released in the beginning of the year, if I'm not wrong, was like March or April. Either or, it's a great film. I didn't get the hype that everyone was getting. I watched a lot of people talk about this movie, and I was like, okay, this probably is a good movie. I went to watch it. I didn't get the same feeling as a lot of people got, that it was one of the greatest of the year. It definitely is because it's on my top 10, but I just felt really awkward in those moments of silence. Like, I think it was too much, but yeah, it's a great film, great acting, great direction, and it's here in my top 10. In ninth position, The Killer. The Killer was directed by David Fincher and starring Michael Fassbender as the main character. It literally is just a story of a guy that we don't know the name because he's a killer, literally. He is on a mission, he fails the mission, and then he's going to have to go through some not happy times to undo what he should have done. Well, it's a bit it's a really easy movie to comprehend because it's just a straightforward movie, and I've already said I've already made a video on this film. I already made a review that I think this movie is great. I feel that people are kind of not understanding much of this movie. People are just saying that it's a boring movie because nothing happens, but for me it's the complete opposite. It's this tension that David Fincher is creating throughout all the movie. If we basically already know that the Michael Fassbender character is going to kill everyone that he sees, that they know that he is the assassin. So it's kind of unexpected when he kills, because we don't know when he's going to, but we know that he's definitely going to. In eighth position, Air. Air was a surprise for me. It was directed by Ben Affleck. He's a good director, but as a actor, I don't like him that much. So seeing him on this project and then watching the movie was a surprise for me, because he makes a really great direction and he also makes a really great acting. This was one of the best movies of the year, right up in the first half of the year. Like, everyone was talking about this movie that could have entered in the Oscars area, maybe a nomination, but right now it's a bit hard to see that. There are, of course, a lot of other movies, and well, I loved this movie. I am a big fan of Matt Damon. He's the main character, basically. And I just feel like this story was really well told. I feel like it basically is a feel good movie, but there isn't much to say. Like, this is a great film from this year. It was in the beginning of the year it was released, and it has stopped. People have stopped talking about it, definitely, but it's a great film. In seventh position, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. As the title is saying, this is directed by Guy Ritchie, and this is a story about the war in Afghanistan. It was a real story about these two characters. I loved watching this movie. I feel like this movie wasn't in the cinemas. Well, probably this movie was launched in the cinemas, but I didn't see, at least when it was released. That was, of course, also earlier in the year. Didn't see this movie going through the cinemas, so I had to watch it in my home, and it was a great experience. I loved the story of this movie. I really connected with the characters. They really formed a bond bit in the movie, and to see Jake Gyllenhaal act again, like, he's one of the greatest actors in this generation. He deserves fully all the credit that people give to him. I think he's the best thing of this movie. Of course, the cinematography is beautiful as well, and Guy Ritchie's direction is also great. In sixth position, Dumb Money. I wasn't expecting a lot from this movie. I didn't see a whole lot of people talking about it. Basically, this is not a movie that was highly distributed. Like, I don't see much people talk about it, and when I saw, I wasn't with a lot of expectations, and the movie fully delivered. It's a real story about the YouTuber Roaring Kitty, or Keith Gill, as it's his real name, and he going against Wall Street, because well, I can't really explain it without talking about the movie itself, so I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a really great movie. Paul Dano, one of my favorite actors. Like, the first time I watched this guy was last year in The Batman, and he made an incredible performance there. Then he went to The Fablemans and delivered an amazing performance also. And now in Dumb Money, he's also doing a incredible performance. I'm loving this actor. I want to see him on more projects, and this was one of those projects that I wanted to see. That was an amazing film. I wasn't expecting to see this movie this high up on my top 10 list. But when I was debating with myself about the movies, I realized that this was a movie that I fully enjoyed. I fully loved this movie, so it deserves to be on top of, on top. Well, it's not on top basically, because it's in sixth position, but it's a great position for this movie, in my opinion. This is one of the best movies of the year. In fifth position, Talk to Me. I've already commented on this movie. I've already made a video on my channel, and It's actually funny to be the video with most views on my channel. As If you go watch this movie, you will realize that I loved it. This movie is directed by the Filippo brothers, a duo of YouTubers. They started on YouTube making videos with crazy, wild visual effects, and then they went to make a horror movie that it was their area, but not so much, and it turned out a great film. I was expecting a lot from this movie because I seen people talk about it, and I seen people talk really good about it. So my expectations were a bit high, and the movie still delivered because it's a great surprise from the year. This movie is really well directed for my expectations. Like a couple of YouTubers and making their debut on the film, they direct really well. The acting from Sophie Wilde is amazing, as I've said on my video. But one thing that I had to say that contradicts with my video, that I said that this movie was in my top 2 of the year, and yeah, it definitely isn't right now because more things have come out. But it's still one of the great films of the year. I think it's a really big surprise. I want to see what this duo of directors does in their next films, in their next things, because I am really happy with the work that they've done. In fourth position, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm not gonna even talk about the directors of this movie because there are three. I just want to say that being a sequence of the last film, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I thought that things couldn't get better, and I think they did. I think that this is one of the rare cases of the sequel, the following movie, being better than the first one. I absolutely loved this story. I think it's an even greater job what they do with the story and with the visual effects. I think that style of the style of the production is really beautiful in the first movie, but in this one it's maybe even better. I think that they were thinking about making a sequence when they first recorded the first movie, and I think that they were seriously thinking about this movie. This turned out to be a great film. I loved watching this. Unfortunately, I didn't watch this on the cinemas because I didn't think it was needed to. But after watching it, I realized that I definitely should have watched this movie in the cinemas. In the theater, this would have been so much of a great experience, and it still was, but not as much as is could have been. In third position, right up into the podium positions, the Holdovers. I already made a video about this film, and as if you've seen the video, you understood that I loved this film. It's a Christmas movie directed by Alexander Payne. That, as I said, it was my first Alexander Payne movie, and I loved his work. I loved everyone's work in this movie. The soundtrack, well, the soundtrack is basically songs from the '60s. I already saved like 2 or 3 songs from the movie because they're really great. The direction, the acting, the sound design, the production design, everything in this movie is really well done. I loved watching. It's a really feel good movie, in the sense of the words, feel good. In second place, I've debated with myself between these two movies, but in the first position, I've already talked about so much about the movie that is going to be on first that I think it just has to be. So in second position, Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese. I also made a video about Killers of the Flower Moon. I felt really. I watched in the cinema. It was a great experience. Martin Scorsese is such a great director. Of course, he is, right? He did an amazing job with this movie. He did amazing job in the direction, in the casting side. It's an amazing movie. It's a beautiful movie, like the cinematography and that kind of stuff. It's a 3 hour and a half long, and still I felt like it was a 2 hour movie. That's because of the film editing that is amazingly done. Like, what can I say more that I haven't talked about it yet? It's a great film, and if this movie relaunches in the cinemas, I will consider I will considering watching again, but maybe I will not because it's 3 hours and a half long. And in first position, how could it not be Oppenheimer? I've already talked about this movie so much that I feel like I just have to put it on first position. I felt so connected with the characters, with the Oppenheimer story. When I say connected, it's not because personal life, it's because that Christopher Nolan, with his direction, with his movie, just made me feel really connected with the story itself. um, it's an amazing movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's probably the best movie objectively of the year. I don't want to say that because maybe it's just bias for me, but I loved watching this movie. If this movie is relaunched for like the Oscars are coming, and I feel like this movie is going to be relaunched. I'm gonna watch it again. It's 3 hours, and IMAX is a bit expensive, but it just pays off. It's a movie to be watched in theaters, not just in theaters, in IMAX cinemas, and I just feel like I just want to watch it again. I'm watching videos on YouTube about the beauty of Oppenheimer, amazing shots of Oppenheimer, and they just basically tell me to go watch it again. It's an amazing story. It's everything in this movie is amazing, like acting, direction, cinematography, sound, production, visual effects. Yeah, that whole controversy about visual effects and Oppenheimer not being on the Oscar for best visual effects, which I think it's a bit dull because they're just counting visual effects as CGI, which doesn't make any sense for me. But yeah, whatever. I just loved watching. I watched twice and I want to watch more. And this was the video, guys. I know it was a bit long. Like, I'm already 20 minutes talking about these movies, but the when you are talking about something you loved, you're going to talk for a long time. And yeah, this is just my top 10. These are just my personal opinions. So go, if you wanna say that I am stupid for leaving a movie behind or putting a movie in here, just say it, and comment your top 10 also. So I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.